one of you guys asked me earlier on in the podcast, like which in the stream, not the podcast, like which podcast Kale brought up Leah being in a cult. Mind you, listen, as usual, she's not dropping names, she's not naming names, but it's always very obvious who she's talking about. Leah very obviously went through Ramster. You were on timeout, girl. Leah very obviously went through a cult phase, right? Like, remember when she was dressing like one of those, like, I don't know, like, kind of like, I don't know, Amishy type of people, or like pilgrim type of people or whatever. And like she was writing a lot of like biblical stuff or just like very religious or spiritual stuff. And then she was doing like that podcast. By the way, my channel members, if you want to join in on this, like Jaleesa was joined in earlier, I put the link to join me on the stream in our, let me take this out so that you guys could see me. In our community tab, so you can go ahead and join and share your opinions by video or by voice. So it was very obvious at some point that Leah was in some kind of a cult. So that's why I'm just like putting it out there that that is who Kale was talking about. So she interviewed somebody on the podcast whose mom fell victim to a cult. Like the mom was so deeply brainwashed by this man, the leader of this cult, that he convinced her to cut ties with her own daughter, who she previously was super close with. And so Kale talks about how she can understand why some people get brainwashed into cults and stuff like that. She's like, listen, I had a friend who was so deep into a cult, you could not tell her nothing. Like we were all trying to tell her, listen, sis, you are in a cult. And she would not listen to any of her. Like no one could get through to her. She never really gets into like how Leah got out of the cult, like because Leah is very obviously no longer in that cult either. And guys, do you have any idea how Leah got out of that cult? It seemed like she was kind of like, whoop, we culting. Oh, no more cults. Like how did she escape so quickly? Because like there's a certain level of brainwashing that goes on in that I'm actually kind of like low-key impressed that she was able to like just chuck the deuces up so quickly. Like it normally does not happen that quickly. So that was kind of interesting. Or maybe it helped that Leah is like has a huge platform so that like she had like hundreds of thousands or millions of people telling her, listen, sis, you are being brainwashed, which is easier to kind of like wake up from than like a couple of people having like the balls to tell you in real life. You know, I'm kind of curious, you guys, what do you think it is? How do you think Leah broke free of that cult so quickly? And is there a deep dive on that cult that she was initially in? Because I need to write this down. Let me get out a pen. I need to write this down because I need to take a look at this cult that Leah was previously in. I want to know how she got into it, who those people are, how long they've been culting, and whatnot. Like, because that is a little bit like wild to me, like how she just suddenly got into that. Like, it was after her relationship with that strange guy, Jason, dear Jason.